Are the mics on? Very good. Okay, we'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the March 9th Board of Commissioners meeting, all those who are here and those are signed in online. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Elizabeth, can you call the roll, please?
Mayor Harker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gillikin.
Here.
Commissioner Spiegler.
Here.
Commissioner Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cooper.
Here.
Commissioner LaPiccolo.
Here.
Okay. Before we move on to approving the agenda, I need to have the agenda amended to add a motion to add a closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A and 3. So with the additional amendment to the agenda, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the fun part, which is great. You know, our community boards are very valuable to the town of Beaufort. When they volunteer and serve, they're giving a lot of their time and talents to help further the cause of our town. And it's really great to be able to recognize those who have served on our board. And tonight we get an opportunity to recognize two people here tonight. We've got Miss Becky Bowler and Marissa Morris here. Marissa? There she is. Okay. In which we're going to be giving them a little certificate of appreciation. And this is always a good picture time for all of us commissioners. This is for your dedicated service to the town of Beaufort.
I'm trying to get out of it.
Marissa Morris for the Historic Preservation Commission. And of course, Miss Becky Bowles for your dedicated service for the town of Beaufort and its citizens with the planning board. Thank you for your service. And we're going to look at Jen. Everybody can look at something. 1, 2, 3. Okay, because they won't move, can we take a picture with them?
I'm willing to get up. You can get up.
Because it's from all of us. Now we're going to move on to the items of consent. We've got the meeting minutes from January 29th through the 23rd. That's interesting.
Mayor, that should be the 29th.
I know, I got it. January 29th,
I
February the
apologize.
9th, and February 23rd. I got you.
Thank you.
Also on the consent agenda, is the Rotary Historic Beaufort Road Race. Another item is USDA sewer bond resolution. And then we have the residential solid waste fee increase. And unless there's any further questions, can I get a motion to approve the items of consent?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to a quasi-judicial proceeding for case number 26-3. That's a special use permit for 201 Ann Street as an accessory dwelling unit. And can I get a motion to open the floor for evidentiary hearing?
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, this hearing is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it's similar to a court hearing. State law establishes specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decision. The Board of Commissioners must base its decision on competent, material, and substantial evidence presented in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is constrained by the standards in the Town of Beaufort Land Development Ordinance and must be based on the facts presented during this hearing. All applications for special use permits must demonstrate consistency with the Land Development Ordinance and whether the proposed use is appropriate in the proposed location. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and the applicable standards, not personal preference or opinion. The board shall hear relevant information from the parties withstanding as set forth in the North Carolina General Statute 160D-406 and 160D-1402. At the discretion of the board, other witnesses may present competent, material, and substantial evidence that is not repetitive. Parties may appear in person through a representative or through an attorney to present information relevant to the requirement of the ordinance. So the parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. The Board of Commissioners, acting through the mayor, may subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence if necessary. For certain topics, the board may hear expert testimony. Individuals offering expert testimony must first be qualified as an expert and must identify the factual basis for their opinion. So at this time, anyone who is going to be participating in this quasi-judicial proceeding will need to go ahead and swear and affirm you. That would be the applicant, town staff. Please come see the clerk.
We can do these together. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, thank you. Now, is there any individual who wishes to testify who is not going to be called by the applicant or staff? And seeing that there is none, is there anybody who feels like they need to qualify as a party withstanding? Please stand up and be notified. Okay, considering there is none. Okay, at this time, I would like to ask any board members if they have had any ex parte communications, any conflict of interest or bias in this case. If so, that needs to be disclosed. Seeing that there is none. And at this time, we'll turn it over to the planning director, Kyle, to do the presentation of the overview. Once he is through with his overview, we'll be able to ask Kyle questions. Once we're through asking questions of Kyle, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to state his case. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor mentioned earlier, this is case number 26-03. It is for a special use permit for an accessory dwelling unit at 201 Ann Street. The applicant is Mr. Eric Lindstrom. And first thing I'd like to do, Mayor, is ask that the staff report that was included in the agenda packet be part of the official record for this special use permit request.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So some history and background on the property. Well, how appropriate. You can do it, thank you. So we have a vicinity map showing where 201 Ann Street is located, and it's outlined and highlighted for the request. And then we have another vicinity map highlighting the property showed in hatched. You'll see properties to the west, southwest, and southeast are all colored yellow, which represents R8 zoning. And this particular piece of property is zone TR transitional. It is consistent with our CAMA land use plan in that the area is identified as a traditional neighborhood, which does mention accessory dwelling units as part of the typical uses found within that particular area. This particular property is also within the local historic district, which means that if the applicant is successful with the special use permit this evening, they would go before the Historic Commission looking at the exterior elevations of what would be proposed, as well as any ground features that are under their purview.
Okay.
We have up on the screen a site plan showing the existing structure that is there at 201, plus the existing shed that the applicant is requesting be converted into an ADU. And the ADU square footage, which would be added to the shed, would equal 400 square feet. You also see in that last bullet that the adjacent property to this particular request is the Episcopal Church and also the cemetery to the north that's with the Episcopal Church. Again, the applicant has provided us a very detailed site plan identifying where fencing would be located, trash corrals, walkways. They are also proposing an underground stormwater filtration system, a bricked proposed driveway, and also again showing the accessory dwelling unit addition to the existing shed, as well as some screen porches. This just gives you an idea. They've also wanted to address emergency access. This has been an item that's come out of the fire department with past requests, especially looking at accessory dwelling units, making sure that public safety folks can get to any structure that's needed in the case of an emergency. Again, as I pointed out earlier, the existing square footage is 266 square feet with a new square footage of 44, making it a total of 400. This proposed project does meet the height and setback requirements. Any structure that is less than 16 feet or less than height can be within 5 feet of a side or rear property, and that is what is shown in the site plan here. And then, of course, they have a rendering of what it would look like once it would be complete. As mentioned earlier, there are findings that are required under General Statute 160D in regards to the proposed use. Our staff has found that the transitional zoning allows for this accessory dwelling unit as a special use permit, hence why it is here with you this evening. The application is complete. We believe that the application is complete. The location and use is in conformity with the land use plan. We reviewed that earlier with you, and we do find it to be consistent with the land use plan. And then in regards to streets, driveways, parking lots, and other traffic circulation features, we have reviewed this, and we believe this also to be adequate and meets that criteria. What we cannot speak to right now is that the injuring or value of adjoining or abutting properties that would take place after you have conducted your full hearing, as well as would it be compatible and in harmony with the adjacent land uses in the area. I believe the applicant will actually speak to that in their next part of this presentation, and it would not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare if where it goes in proposed. And Mayor, that is, I believe, the last. And then, of course, I have what would be the requested actions. But at this time, Mayor, I'll be glad to entertain questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Kyle? Commissioner Gilligan?
Thank you. Kyle, can you help me understand what additive massing is and how the requirement is met?
Additive massing.
I saw it on the conceptual,
Okay.
and I'm not familiar with that phrase. Let's see. Yep, there on the bottom right, incorporating additive massing per the historic district design guidelines.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. That in regards to construction, new construction, one of the criteria under new construction is height, scale, mass, and proportion. And what they want to do is make sure that the accessory dwelling unit is smaller in square footage than the main structure. And in this particular case, the accessory dwelling unit is quite smaller than the overall square footage of the main structure. The main structure, if I'm not mistaken, is almost 80 feet in length and averages about 25 feet in width. So that's, yes. So,
Okay,
yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any further questions for Kyle? Seeing that there is none, Mr. Lindstrom, would you like to come up and speak about your project?
Yes, thank you. there we go. My name is Eric Lindstrom. My primary residence in Beaufort is at 125 Ann Street, 2 doors down from 201 Ann Street, the 1817 James Davis house, which I own under Hayloft Investments. I'm seeking a special use permit for 201 Ann Street to allow for the renovation and expansion of an existing 300 square foot accessory structure built in 1985 by Dr. John Koslow into an accessory dwelling unit. The accessory dwelling unit would be for family and friends, specifically including the 4-paw variety, and would not be used as a vacation rental. Nearly all of our family and friends either have dogs or are allergic to cats and cannot stay as guests in our house. That's very self-serving. There are 7 required findings for the issue of the special use permit, and I hope to highlight how my application addresses those. One of the first findings is that the application is complete. I won't go into the full 12 pages of my application response, but I'll try to hit some of the highlights that you need in making your findings of fact. So included in the application, I'll even skim through these because Kyle pretty much gave my presentation. We submitted a site plan, a landscape. We're showing you where we're adding parking for 2 cars and adding a proposed brick driveway. And shows the location of the back. Here's some more details about the structure. I also interpreted additive massing as the additions to the structures do not overwhelm the structure you're adding to. So it looks like much in Beaufort, as you see the sheds and the additions over years, you see that in the plan and the elevation of the structure. So that's what I've tried to incorporate into the structure in terms of additive massing. Next slide. And again, here you can see the elevations of the structure. Showing the architectural elements. I'm not going above the primary height of the existing gable, sticking within the scale of the structure. As Kyle mentioned, this is allowed in both the zoning, the CAMA use plans, and historic design guidelines have criteria for accessory structures and anticipate accessory dwelling units. Here's the subject property at the corner of Ann and Moore Street. From the corner, you see the main house, and then in back, you see the existing condition of the shed, and then also the proposed renovation with the brick driveway. Here you can see several of these are along Moore Street, but they're about town. I think that actually accessory structures and accessory dwelling units are actually part of the character of the district. They help define the historic district that we have. And one of the things we had to meet the engineering requirements, so we are providing for the parking onto the site for 2 cars. We're proposing a fully brick driveway because there are no sidewalks on Moore Street on this particular side and no plans to install sidewalks. And so I was proposing to do it in all brick, and I am willing to execute an agreement with the town to take full responsibility should the bricks ever have to be removed in the future. And trying to even go a step further in terms of the driveway and adding impervious by actually including a stormwater cistern with it. Here you can see through the years, the town has approved 4 ADUs, I think in the last few years. The green properties are structures that have accessory structures, and then the orange properties are either where there have been approved ADUs or they're historic ADUs in the neighborhood vicinity around this structure. And again, some of the pictures or characters that you see, the accessory structures are actually kind of part and parcel to the character of Beaufort's historic district. In terms of for making sure that this is safe for the community and does not harm anybody, this structure will have direct emergency access from Moore Street. It meets the required setbacks and also building separation to diminish the spread of fire and will meet obviously all building codes. And so just kind of in summary, again, the use is allowed by all of the various plans and overlay districts. It's anticipated in the historic design guidelines. I think the structure, the use as an ADU, and also the scale is in character and harmony with the district. We're going to be adding parking, and I think historical record has shown that property values have not gone down in the neighborhood with the addition of accessory structures, and we provide emergency access to the property. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Lindstrom. Don't go too far, they may have questions for you. Any questions for Mr. Lindstrom?
Just one thing,
Commissioner
did you say you were there is no sidewalk, but you'll be adding one alongside your property?
No, there's no plan for a sidewalk, so that's why I was proposing doing the full brick driveway from the drive area to the street. Usually, a lot of brick driveways are done to the sidewalk, and then it's a concrete apron to the roadway that's tied into the sidewalk.
Okay.
But town staff has kind of indicated there's no plans to add a sidewalk along the, there along Moore Street along the cemetery.
Okay, I misunderstood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That was very thorough, your presentation. I really like the on-site stormwater that you're proposing. That's great. Just curious, so the dwelling is going to be used for family and friends to visit. What is the main house used for?
The main house is a full-time rental. In fact, we have a tenant moving in in 2 weeks that will be there at least for 2 years.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Lindstrom. Appreciate it. Okay, seeing that there's no other testimony that we need to be hearing today, I would like to make a motion to close the evidentiary hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So this gives the board an opportunity to deliberate. You'll be making two motions. One will be on the finding of facts, and then the other motion would be to either approve the special use case number 2603 or to deny. So let's talk about the finding of facts first. I believe we've heard great explanation on those. Do you feel like the finding of facts are in order, or do you have any questions?
I make a motion that we approve case number 26-03 because it satisfies the required finding of facts.
So we're going to do the finding of facts first, separate, correct? Or can we do it all together?
That would be great.
If we list the finding of facts.
The motion could incorporate those factors and the findings of facts set forth on page 86 of
86.
the agenda packet.
Oh, can you see that far, if it's even up there? It's on H.
So amend the motion to include the finding of facts that is included in the meeting packet on page 86.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the finding on facts. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion to either approve or deny special case number 2603?
Make the motion to approve case number 2603, special use permit for 201 Ann Street, accessory dwelling unit.
Fantastic. We've got a motion on the floor to approve. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to public comment.
One individual, Mayor Ken Hansen.
Aye. Still here? Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't see and I can't hear. So welcome, Mr. Hanson. You've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Real simple. My name is Ken Hanson. I live at 101 Colony Point Street in Beaufort Club. I've been up here before in reference to Beaufort Club. We have an ongoing problem with some speeding in there in the neighborhood, but that's becoming under control. I've worked with the chief now for 4 years on that. What I'm here tonight, though, we just had the speed checked again for 31 days. And I think all of you know where Beaufort Club is. We have right now about 100, and I think it's approximately 125 houses with about that many more to go. In approximately 30 days, we had 10,866 vehicles going in and out of that development. I live right on the main road, so they all went by my house. We were told 3 years ago a second entrance was in the process. I think right here in this room, I've even heard that before. cost was one factor, changing the road was another factor, where they were gonna bring it in was another factor. I'm not here to debate any of that. 10,000 cars in 1 month going in on that one little road is just way too much traffic. There's kids in there. We've had dump trucks coming through just recently. I personally called the owner of the dump trucks, who told me that I was the third person to call. Okay, if I was the third person to call, why the heck hadn't he done anything about it? And the trucks are still zooming on by. They may have slowed down a little bit, but that's just way too much traffic on a 2-lane road that's not even got the final payment on it yet, which is a different story, but we're not here to discuss that tonight. My debate tonight is we need to get, the developer has kind of drug their feet. I have another way I would say that, but I won't say it in front of the group tonight. But we're tired, the people that live there are tired of these excuses. They're very lame. They're the developers. If they didn't want to do the road when they built it, they should never start it. And I'm here to present that tonight. This document, the police department provided, it does list everything, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to make copies. I just got it from the police department. It is on file. I'll be glad to email it to each and every one of you if you'd like to get a copy of it.
Yes, sir.
10,866 cars went right through the development. And I'll let you know that during that time, we had a snowstorm, and the clubhouse was closed for a week, and the golf course was closed for a week. So you probably would have to inflate that figure a little bit more. But I'll be glad to email this out. I'll try to get it out tomorrow to you.
I appreciate your time. Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to old business. The first item under old business is the Cadet Hotel, 400 Pollock Street. And we've got Mr. Grady to present upon that too, as well as Kyle. Or? would
Yes,
you-
ma'am, I'm glad to jump in.
Okay.
Great. I think the agenda narrative is fairly self-explanatory, but for the record, as this board will recall, in January, you authorized the filing of an abatement/demolition lawsuit as to the Cadet Hotel. Is this better?
Is that high?
A little bit better? Okay. Subsequently, and before the lawsuit was filed on February 12th, Preservation Foundation of North Carolina, we refer to them by their acronym, PNC, started legal proceedings against the owner of the Cadet Hotel, and actually the adjoining house, which they call the Cadet House. And the point of the legal proceedings was the violation of the development and redevelopment agreements between PNC and the owner, and also the violation of deed restrictions that were placed on the property by PNC. We've got copies of the initial court filings in the agenda packet. The best way I would describe those filings is they were liens trying to tie up the property to make sure there were no further subdivisions of the property or conveyances of the property. As the board will recall, part of the property was actually conveyed, I believe, in November of last year. Subsequent to the publication of the agenda, PNC actually filed their lawsuit. I believe it was last Thursday. And that's the primary filing of PNC, basically asking the court to find a breach of the deed restrictions, a breach of the development agreements, and also to enforce PNC's right to repurchase the property from the current owner, and I guess I should say owners. PNC is represented through their legal counsel that they intend to reacquire ownership, and when they do, they are going to stabilize and repair the building, particularly the exterior, and then they're going to market the property to somebody who can further redevelop it. What I envision is the exterior being stabilized and repaired and the interior not being fully finished so the end purchaser can convert it to whatever that purchaser thinks they want it to look like. Hand in hand with PNC's various court filings, they have requested that the town hold our demolition abatement action in abeyance, basically to put it on hold. That request was made simultaneously with the initial filings back in February, and it was subsequently reiterated. There are a couple of factors that PNC has cited to support that request. One is that two parallel civil lawsuits would introduce procedural and contractual uncertainties into PNC's effort. Our abatement action would negatively impact title and title dynamics during PNC's intended repurchase of the properties. Our abatement action would increase legal expenses and administrative costs for both the town and PNC, and further complicate litigation management, and that our abatement demolition suit could undermine the goals of historic preservation for the Cadet Hotel. Again, all this is set forth in the agenda packet. I will say, the town's abatement action is 90% ready to go. We had just about finished it when PNC pulled the trigger on their initial legal action. We can file that at any time. I mean, we could file it this month, we could file it in 6 weeks, we could file it in 6 months. So if the board does elect to hold our abatement action for demolition in abeyance or put it on hold, it's up to this board to take it off of hold and to proceed whenever this board would like to do so. That's the request in a nutshell and a little bit of the context and background. I'm certainly glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any questions for, yes?
Yeah, could you give me some idea of the time moving forward by PNC?
Sure. It really depends on what kind of response they're going to get from the defendant. As of Friday afternoon, they had received no response whatsoever from the property owners or their lawyer, which is a little unusual since they took their first round of court filings back in February. The property owners have 30 days from the service of the complaint that was filed last week to actually file a response with the court. One of the responses could be to ask for 30 additional days to file a response with the court. So if the property owner does not respond, they go into what we call default, and then PNC can just ask the court to enter the relief that they're requesting, basically order the reconveyance of the property or enter a judgment that affirmatively takes title from the owners to PNC. There are a couple of ways you can get there. But the minimum time horizon in court is 30 days. It could be up to 60 days, and how much time after that really depends on the defendant's response and how the property owners intend to contest it and how aggressively, or if they intend to contest it.
And PNC has had this in place, or the ability to file, for the last 2 years?
I believe the original transaction was in 2022. The original sale from PNC to the current owner.
So they've had this ability for much longer than that?
Yes, sir. 21.
21.
Yes, sir.
There is nothing I would rather see than the Cadet Hotel to move forward, be sold, and be rehabilitated. I mean, I would love to see that. My concern is allowing this to move forward, backing off, well, not moving forward, backing off from where we are currently, not filing at all, and not having any leverage in the sense of seeing additional action at the hotel. We haven't for years and years and years. I still have those same concerns we talked about previously in the way of the health and safety of the Cadet Hotel in the condition that it's currently in. I made it a point to go talk to neighbors of the hotel. And it was real interesting talking to them and talking to the owner of the commercial building beside it. And it was mixed feelings. There really was. You know, they felt the same way. They wish it had been restored or some use for that hotel years ago, but it simply has not occurred. So they don't feel as strongly about it anymore, and they certainly understand the health and safety issues with that hotel, especially the overhang. We've talked about that before, and it giving way and perhaps injuring someone. The issue I think I'm having is backing off and then something happening at the hotel. And having to explain that to someone if someone was injured, if there is a fire there. We've already heard from our fire chief that there's orders not to go in if it catches on fire. I have great concerns about something happening and us backing off and coming back and being at the same place 6 months, a year. I'm not sure how long it's going to take them. If we moved forward and filed at any point in time after doing that, we would be able to pull back if we saw the actions we felt comfortable with. Is that an incorrect statement?
No, that's a correct statement.
And personally, I have a hard time pulling back. I see no reason why we would not move forward. File keeps us essentially with a place at the table. The reason they moved after however many years that we've had this situation was because we passed the motion to move forward. Otherwise, it'd probably still be sitting there. So I'm having a really hard time not moving forward. If we see action by them, then okay, we may be able to pull back. I'm having a hard time just pulling back.
Understood.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner, and I think we addressed this at our work session a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that primarily the reason why we went in the direction of that we did was to light a fire up under the owner, which we did get some results from that. And I agree with you. The community at one time did not wish for that building to be torn down, but they are changing their minds simply because of how it looks in the town. But I think we as a board should do as much as it possibly can to assure that, possibly being able to keep that building as a historical building within the town of Beaufort. On the safety issue, maybe we can take something in terms of either roping it off, or as you will see in some time when there is some construction going on, that there's some barriers put up in place where you have to walk around it. I think those are some of the things that possibly we can do to be able to assure the safety of the public of the people of Beaufort. But for now, I do agree with you. The attitude has changed to some degree. But I think as far as maybe as a board, we should, in the historical end, try to preserve that building as best as possible.
Is the area, just one quick question on what was said.
Yes, sir.
Is there an ability for the town to step in and take any action at the hotel absent the trail that we were on?
Yes, sir. If the building or part of it is deemed to be an immediate safety hazard, like it's going to fall in tonight or tomorrow, then we have the ability to act unilaterally to address that. I mean, that is a state statute on the books and gets used with some frequency around the state. But I've got to emphasize you've got to have the immediacy. I mean, something must have changed recently. I mean, it's been sitting there in this condition since at least 2008, as far back as I've seen in the building inspection files. But if something's changed with that overhang recently, for instance, if it's gotten materially weaker or further deteriorated, we do have some ability to go take care of it, and taking care of it would be removing it, in my opinion, removing the overhang. Certainly some of the steps that Commissioner Cooper has suggested may work, but if you want to address the issue, the way you address the issue is you take down the overhang.
So is there the ability then, what's the steps forward? If we wanted to take the overhang off?
We'd have to get your staff, your building inspection staff, to go over there and determine if that overhang is an immediate safety hazard, an imminent safety hazard. And then if that's the case, then it would be up to this board to make that decision, whether to remove the overhang or not.
Commissioner Spiegler?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Matthews and Commissioner Cooper. You brought up some good points. I think this board has talked before as well. Commissioner Matthews is asking why we don't just continue the way we're going. And one of the big reasons is because Preservation North Carolina has asked us to put our abatement on hold for right now. And it's on page 105 in our agenda packet. This is important to them, and it lists the reasons why. There's some legal reasons why it would be confusing for them and harder for them to move forward with this if we continue as well. And we've talked about that we want to respect that request right now. We do want to stay in good partnership with Preservation North Carolina as much as possible. We understand this is a big challenge and it's been going on for a long time, but we do feel like we want to give them some time to try to figure this out. Like Commissioner Cooper said, we would really like to see this preserved if at all possible, and I think that giving them the 30 days or the 60 days would help in that direction. We do realize this cannot go on forever, but like Commissioner Cooper said, this is lighting a fire, and we are seeing some action going forward, and that's really what we want to see. So in terms of at least for now, keeping that partnership strong with Preservation North Carolina, that is important to this board as well.
I would just like to say, in terms of having to prove that there's some danger, I frequently walk by that building a lot, if not every day, at least 3 days a week. And I've yet to really see anything that has failed from that building. And my whole thing, when that snowstorm was going on, the Get Odell was in my brain that overhang just might collapse, but it didn't. And I think in the number of years that it has not had anyone taking care of it, that building seemed to be holding up fairly well. It is an eyesore. I mean, the wrapping, she has wrapped it over a few years, but then the wrapping, due to wind, gets up under it, and then it really looks a mess. But for right now, I haven't seen anything that have fell from that building that would really say immediate or imminent danger. And especially nothing from the overhang, because I walked up under it. So I'm thinking we will have a hard case trying to prove any immediate danger to the public other than our feelings.
Yes, sir, understood. I think at the end of the day, that requires a professional opinion by someone like a building inspector or a licensed engineer. So we would, if the board wanted to go that route, we would start with your inspections department.
Okay. Commissioner Gilligan?
Just continuing this safety conversation, I also wonder if removal of the overhang would actually destabilize the building. So I would be curious if a professional came back and told us what that would look like. That might be an outcome. I totally understand everybody's points about the building and the safety and the public safety, but I feel like we have accomplished what we wanted to accomplish with just the threat of abatement action. And I really want to maintain our relationship with PNC because we have a lot of historic preservation needs in this town. And I think PNC could serve us well into the future. And I think they're going to want to not play so nice in the sandbox if we do parallel litigation. So I'm in favor of backing off until we see where this is going.
Any further comments? Commissioner
Yeah,
Tittle?
I think the request by PNC, I think, is appropriate. I wouldn't want to negatively impact any of the title dynamics as PNC is intending to repurchase the property. I think that's an important part of this. People at PNC, they want conservation of this property. They're involved, they're invested in this. And some say that they were misled by the developer with a lot of false promises here, and they were kind of given a bad hand on this. And we have not had any light on this project or any positives on this project for a while, and now we have, and I applaud PNC for stepping up to the plate for this, is PNC's come forward and they're willing to take the developer to court. And I think that that is a positive outcome. I think we should not muddy the waters with PNC at this point. I think we should not even try to affect the property or any of the historic components of the property at this point either. And this property's been condemned for over 10 years. I think giving PNC a few more months or a specific time frame to allow them to kind of work this out, I think would be in the best interest of the community. So I'm in favor of allowing PNC to move forward with this and to holding off on the abatement action on the property with the knowledge that we always have the right to reverse that and to reinstate the abatement.
All right, I guess council is looking for some strong direction and a motion as to where to go. It looks like you've presented us with an option.
Yes, ma'am. As set forth in the agenda packet, to put the brakes on our abatement action would require affirmative action of this board. If the board takes no action or if that type of motion fails, then implicit in that lack of action is that I'll move forward with the abatement lawsuit.
All right.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward in terms of putting the brakes and allow PNC to go through their legal actions with the owner of the Cadet Hotel.
All right, can we also be getting an update on this? I know they've got 30 days, 60 days. I guess we'll get an update on the progress of that.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm under the habit of checking weekly. I will continue to check weekly, and if there are any developments, I will let you know. And I will say for PNC's lawyers, they've been very communicative. They sent a copy of the suit they filed last week voluntarily without being prompted. So there's a good dialogue there, but I assure the board I will continue to monitor it weekly.
Okay, oh, very good. So we've got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right?
No.
Nay? Okay. Motion carries. Now we're going to move on to the UDO project. We've got Mr. Garner to present on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So our discussion item before you this evening is not a new topic. Glad it's under old business because it is where we are right now with the UDO project. In the cover sheet, the brief summary is telling us after the recent workshop that the board was looking at maybe some options to consider where we are and what options were that we could look at maybe moving forward. And based on that, we asked the consultant to provide us with a list of items within the modules, either articles or sections that could be accomplished without running into any interference with a pending Senate bill that is out there. In your staff report, you'll have that staff is very much proposing to ask that we do move forward with Module 4, which includes the subdivision ordinance. And looking at what I had in the summary, it says that it has not been amended since 2005. And those were some very minor amendments. So the actual cover of the subdivision ordinance says it's not been amended since 1998. So that's been a few years. There have been a lot of changes. I know that our attorneys went back and made sure that it was at least 160D compliant, but there are a lot of other gaps that need to be filled in there, such as what to do with letters of credit, minor subdivisions. Currently, we only have two types of subdivision options, exempt or major subdivisions. So there's quite a bit of area and work that could be done just on that one document. The other item that we have here is the flood damage prevention ordinance. With FEMA getting ready to roll out the new FEMA flood maps for the Beaufort jurisdiction, this is something that our state emergency management people have asked, and they've actually taken a look. I know that our attorneys have taken a look at it as well to make sure that we would be compliant with that. That's very important, especially when we get into that season that I don't like to discuss this time of year that will be upon us in the near future. So those are at least two areas that we know that are of importance that we would like to continue. Both of those are within Module 4. However, you also asked for an a la carte menu as to potential other areas that do not impact zoning. But I want to go back to the two previous ones I mentioned, and I'm glad our legal counsel is here because both the subdivision and floodplain damage prevention are totally separate in 160D from anything dealing with zoning, and I want to go on the record to say that tonight. I know that there's some angst with folks. Subdivision is not zoning, totally separate. Flood damage prevention, also totally separate in 160D. However, again, at your request, we have provided a list of other items that could be worked on. You'll also find in my write-up that just the subdivision and flood damage prevention, these are not 1 or 2 week items. These are items that will take quite a while just to work on. I have some knowledge working on the current ordinance that we have now, which took over 2 years to work on in the the LDO. And I believe actually one of the sitting commission members was on that group. So there's some history there. So I want the board to understand that these two items would take up quite a bit of time. But again, we wanted to provide you with the list of other options as well, ma'am. So at this time, and I have highlighted section 4 in blue with the modules, but I'll be glad to entertain questions of the board, ma'am.
Alrighty. Well, let's start with the question of Module 4, Articles 5 and 6, and discuss those. And if you guys wish to build upon that, we could. So we have any questions for Kyle about the Article 5 and 6, the subdivision regulation, and the flood damage prevention? Mr. Matthews.
Actually, I have a question for Ari.
Okay.
I just wanted to hear from him on Module 4 with Article 5 and Article 6. Are you comfortable that we are in no way in violation of current law in moving forward with those two items?
Yes, sir, I am. Specifically, your subdivision regulations under Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes, those are completely separate from zoning. They're two separate articles. Subdivision regulation is in no way zoning, so it would not run afoul of the downzoning provision. And then the flood damage prevention ordinance, we actually have to periodically update that due to federal and state requirements, if you will. And if we don't stay updated, it puts our ability to participate in the flood insurance program at risk. So, but like subdivision, flood damage is a separate provision of 160D, and it's not zoning. It's not under the zoning umbrella.
And given that both of these would be focused in on residential, then we don't have the concern so far as creating a nonconformity as well. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct. You don't see nonconformities in the subdivision situation because a subdivision approval is prospective. Somebody wants to do something. Now, you might have a lot today that doesn't meet the parameters of the subdivision ordinance. All that means is you wouldn't have been able to do it today, what you were able to do 20 years ago or whatever. And the flood damage prevention ordinance is much the same. It doesn't really require anybody to retrofit anything. It's just geared toward new construction and new improvements. So I'm confident that those two items would not run afoul of the downzoning prohibition.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. Overall, all of the modulars, as long as we stay out of the present zoning that the legislature is working on, we'll be okay?
Yes, sir. I think there are portions of every module that you could safely tackle without running afoul of the downzoning prohibition. The issue is that depending on what part of the work in which module you're talking about, you may have to actually do that analysis for each step. Something that on its face doesn't violate downzoning, well, can it be interpreted to do that? Or does it indirectly run afoul? What we can do is safely say that subdivision regulation and flood damage prevention, there is virtually zero chance of running afoul of the downzoning prohibition. So if we started those, we could work safely. That would take, Kyle, some time to
Yes, sir.
some time to get done, and that'll give us time to see what happens in the upcoming legislative session, if there's any relief granted. And if we're done with those two topics, then we could probably get in the world of pulling discrete parts of the other modules out that are safe. You know, you start with the safest ones, if you will, and then work toward the ones that might be more questionable, if the board wants to go there. But I think it makes sense to start with the low-hanging fruit, if you will.
Well, we already now, how many, at least a year and a half into this UDO?
Yes, sir.
With another what? Another year and a half?
Close to it, yes, sir.
Which is costing us quite a bit of money,
It's
cost-wise factor?
still under the same contract with the same dollar amount.
I'm just concerned that we don't get into what happened a couple of years ago, which was not the makeup of this board, other than myself and the mayor during her first term, where we actually, I had to put it to vote to get the Cameron land plan use that we have on the books now across the finish line, because there was a couple of commissioners who wanted to drag it out and not submit the plan that we had, which was a terrific plan. And I do not want to see this UDO end up in that same track. So I see where if we're paying a consultant firm to keep us on target. So why could they not assure that if we decide to tackle these modular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as they are, and just assure that the downzoning is not brought up or get mixed up in the mix of trying to navigate those other modulars, rather than isolating 5 and 6 and hope that we successfully do those without downzoning.
I think the concern I have is that whatever comes back from our state legislature might affect indirectly, in addition to or more so than what we even know today. And if our staff and our committees basically spend the time and effort to do this, and our staff is already taxed and so forth, and then we do spend the money in addition to that with the consultants to do this, and then things change and we get another ruling from the state, which then interferes or interacts adversely with the work that we've done, then we're going to go back and have to rewrite portions again of that and spend additional funds on it. I think the safest and the simplest thing to do is to work on Module 4, Article 5 and 6, and get that done. Hopefully, we can see clarity from the state at some point, and then we can revisit that down the road. I don't know when. We don't know when. I don't think anyone really has any clarity to when the state's going to come back with this. But if you're worried about funding and spending money, I think the concern then too is spending additional money going back and revising on top of the contract that we have.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Spiegel.
Thank you, Kyle. I know you guys have spent a lot of time and effort on this, and we appreciate all the staff time. I agree with Commissioner Cooper. I think, we have a great CAMA land use plan that we got over the finish line, and we're trying to implement that now in our UDO and our ordinances. It does seem like a good compromise to start with Module 4, Article 5 and 6, the subdivision regulations and flood damage prevention, because we know that that's not affected by the downzoning law at the state level. I do agree with Commissioner Cooper, though. We need to keep going. We don't want to have this dragged out forever, and so we need to keep in mind which parts we can work on after we finish those Module 4 ones. Being careful to work on the parts that do not include downzoning, but I do think it's important that we continue to move forward. Like you said, I know this is the subdivision one. We haven't had any major updates since 1998. That is a long time. We need to get moving with this. We need to get it on the books and implement that CAMA land use plan that we have. So I think starting with Module 4 is a great move forward. I was going to ask Mayor Harker, would that involve, and I assume it would, the UDO subcommittee continuing to work on those issues going forward? Does that format change at all? Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
Yes.
Mayor, I'll be glad to, if that's fine with you. I'll be glad to answer that.
I don't see where it would change, but go ahead.
Moving forward with this module, the subcommittee would still be active. I think also what we've done for you this evening is if you charge us with that module, that we've provided you with, as I said, a menu of other items that you can be looking at. Going back what our attorney mentioned earlier, that as we're maybe wrapping up, hopefully that module, pending where things are with the legislature, that the board can say, okay, now that we've had this menu, here are some other things we would like to consider looking at, and that would give us an opportunity to vet how they would be in regards to, as hate to quote an attorney, but at low-hanging fruit, I think is what he used earlier, and then work your way up. Piece that I did not mention earlier that we have discussed. If the legislature decides not to do anything with the bill, the two modules, or the Module 4, the two articles that we've asked you to work on, have already been standalone ordinances for the town in the past. So if something were to go awry, the positive is that we would at least have two major components that would have been part of a three-piece component for the UDO that would be already accomplished. And I think that is a positive, that if we went down that road, you could at least have two separate documents as they were.
And Kyle, you're saying those could be adopted and voted into law for the town independently?
Yes, sir. If we would prefer to have everything intertwined.
Sure.
But yes, sir, they could very well do that.
Yes.
Thank you, Kyle. That's an important piece to know. I also want to mention that I feel comfortable with this plan moving forward. Our consultant, White and Smith, they're not just a planning firm, but they also have legal expertise, and that's one of the reasons why we went with them for this UDO update. And so we know they're staying up to date on what's happening with the legislature, and they're advising us as to, what the best course forward is. So we have that assistance and resource as well as we continue.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further comments or questions?
Just one comment, and I agree with what Commissioner Spiegler just said so far as they're having attorneys on staff, but they're not our attorneys. So I would highly recommend that Aries stay closely involved, because I'm going to rely upon you saying that it does not conflict with current law if we move forward with anything other than these Module 4 items.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. And I appreciate the board's desire to continue to move forward. It's extremely important. It does save you in time and money by continuing to move that way. Just to kind of piggyback on the question about the committee still staying in place, we still haven't finished all the work, so I don't see why the committee would go anywhere. And I think as we get past this Article 5 and 6 and Module 4, and you get into some of those topics that may have a little bit of touch of what current legislature may impact and what they may not, you will need to have a committee to help continue to flesh that out to bring it back to the board. So I'm hopeful that, we'll hear some deciding factors as to whether downzoning will be modified and the language would change to allow for not just our communities, but many communities out here are putting a pause on moving with their UDO, which we don't, as you heard, need to continue to do anymore. We've been dealing with this since, in some cases, the late 1900s and early 2015s. So I appreciate everybody's standpoint in that. But with the question at hand, if there's no further questions for Kyle, you get a decision to make, and it sounds like you guys might be on the way of making that one. If there is a desire to move forward, Article 5 and 6 under Module 4, I think we're not at the point of maybe discussing other modules because they're a little too overlapping, but this is a big undertaking. But before they make a vote, is there any time frame that this needs to be done? You mentioned some kind of legal actions or legislative actions that would suggest that we need to try to work on this. Is there a certain pace that this needs to be put at? I know it's a lot of undertaking, and do we need to get it done by a certain time frame?
Now, we've discussed that. Thank you, Mayor. We believe that we can have this wrapped up by the end of the summer.
Okay.
These modules, or at least have the draft to the board. I know that's putting a lot of pressure on the subcommittee, but at least by late summer, early fall.
All right.
And that would tie in with the legislature and their calendar. So hopefully we would have an idea, and then we would come back and figure out where we go from there.
Okay. All right, with that being said, is there a motion? What is the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we prioritize the subdivision and flood prevention damage ordinances, Articles 5 and 6, and Module 4, followed by topics within other modules that are not related to zoning.
Okay. We've got a motion on the floor.
Just-
Go ahead. You want a clarification of the motion?
Yeah, no, I want to offer an amendment to the motion, and that is that just a little clarity that we're moving forward on Module 4, Article 5, and Article 6. But prior to initiating any other activities with the other sections or modules, that we would have discussion with council before moving forward.
Yes, we would have a recommendation from White and Smith staff and run all of that by Mr. Grady.
Okay. All right, we've got
Can I get a clarification of exact, what you're speaking on there, Commissioner? As far as getting clarity, in other words, we do 5 and 6.
But we don't move forward without the recommendation coming in that we can evaluate on any of the others from our attorney, from legal counsel, so that we know
But,
we're on sound ground.
Well,
Now, it
aren't we
could be
relying
given
on our
the-
staff
Let me
to do
finish.
that?
Let me finish. No, I don't want to rely on staff. Given the timing that is being discussed, we may have clarification well before even having to make a decision. But if we're going to make a decision, I'd like to hear from council on any of the others. I feel very comfortable with Module 4. Moving into the other modules where we get into gray areas. And quite honestly, I just don't want to see an area where we're stepping on a violation of state law that leaves us open to having something filed against us. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
You referring to the downzoning?
I'm
Yes.
referring to the downzoning. I'm also referring to other provisions that are in that same law.
Well, once again,
Nonconformity, for instance.
But once again, the consultant firm that we have, I will hope that when we complete 5 and 6, and if we have to move on to the other, that they tread lightly to assure that we don't violate that downzoning while we trying to implement the other modules.
Yeah, I appreciate that. They've made it very clear they're not our attorneys. That is our attorney.
May I restate the motion, please? I think it might
Thank you.
satisfy
I appreciate that.
all of our needs. So I would make a motion to prioritize the subdivision and flood prevention damage ordinances, Articles 5 and 6, and Module 4, followed by topics within other modules that are not relating to zoning as recommended by White, Smith, and Kuzno, staff, and Council Grady. Would that work?
And
Commissioner
that
Matthews?
would, those items would come to us, right? I mean, we're gonna hear, you know, I don't wanna, I'm not on the subcommittee, I don't wanna sit there and follow it. All I'm asking is that we have guidance from our attorney that anything beyond Module 4, Article 5 and 6 comes back to us so that we are in agreement that we can move forward on those items.
And
I
they
mean,
will all
otherwise-
come back to you. I don't know exactly, they will all come back to you. This is, I don't want you to get the impression that if they bring something to you, it's rubber stamp. Everything comes back to this board for review. And when they bring it back to this board for review, they're gonna let you know, we're bringing this back and it should not be affected by downzoning or any other legislative piece. So you still get a chance to discuss it. And if for whatever reason it doesn't seem to fit your snuff test or anybody else's, this is what deliberation is going to be about. So it will always come back here. And I don't think they're going to bring anything to us that will violate any state laws, correct?
That's what I'm thinking.
That's correct, Mayor, and the way I understand the motion is when we are done with subdivision and flood damage prevention, that we/I will come back to the board with the next handful of topics that can safely be tackled without violating the downzoning prohibition currently in the state statutes.
And I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah,
I'm very
I am
comfortable
too.
with
I
that.
It
got no
all comes back to
Is
the
that a
board
fair
for
read of
consideration.
your motion?
That is a
Mr.
fair read.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so now we've got clarification. Hopefully we can move forward. Any further questions? Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye for the motion.
Aye.
All right, all opposed have the same right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to new business. We've got a letter of support for Climate Smart Communities Initiative. We've got Mr. Todd Miller on board. But before we go through that, I want to take this as an opportunity. Commissioner Gillikin will be closely working with this particular project. And based on her stance, I would like to get a motion to recuse her from this topic, and then we'll bring her back after the vote has been taken.
So moved.
We've got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Have a seat in the front. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor and Town Board. Over the last several months, we've had a couple of meetings with the town planners, Kyle and Michelle, and town manager, Matt, to investigate some opportunities for funding through this Climate Smart Communities Initiative to further the town's resiliency efforts. And out of those discussions, the idea of developing a long-term plan for how to protect the Rachel Carson Reserve emerged as sort of the favorite topic. The idea is that the reserve is really the town's first line of defense in terms of climate issues, storms, rising sea level, and it you know, based on work that the reserve has done over the last several years, we know that there is erosion, subsidence, and the chance that, you know, if you look out 30 to 50 years, it may not be anything like it is today in terms of what it provides in terms of protection to the town. So out of that, we have fashioned a proposal to put together a team that would include the town, the Coastal Reserve, the North Carolina Coastal Federation, and through this grant program, a consulting firm, Tetra Tech, that would work on first identifying what are the mitigative measures that can be taken to keep up with the pressures on the reserve in terms of changing in the climate and sea level and storms. But beyond that, to start thinking about sort of the implementation framework of governance framework of, once you sort of figure out what needs to be done, how do you actually move those measures forward in a consistent way over the next 30 to 50 years? This project isn't going to end up with a something to be implemented when it's finished. It will be developing a plan that has lots of community engagement. It's one step in a fairly lengthy process to get towards implementing a management framework that would be very durable over the next few decades. I think one way to think about this is what the beach communities out at Bogue Banks have done in terms of beach renourishment projects. They've put together a framework out there that has figured out how to carry out those projects on a 50-year basis, and have been very successful really in implementing those projects over the last decade or so. So the request tonight is, the town needs you as a partner in embarking on this effort. The request, when it goes in, does need to have a letter of support saying that the town is a partner. The amount of the grant that is available would be up to about $115,000, and the project has to be finished in 12 months. So it's pretty quick turnaround. And what the product would be at the end is basically a planning document that would be for that you would help to create, but also, in terms of a decision to use it or not, that would be your discretion at the end of the process. So view it as a good opportunity to get some help, but be happy to answer any questions if you have any about these ideas.
Any questions for Mr. Miller? Yes, Commissioner Spiegel.
Thank you. That was informative, and I just want to say thank you to the Coastal Federation for all the work you've done with the town over the years. This sounds like a good grant opportunity. Do you have a sense of how many communities might be funded? So what I'm asking is, is this something that we're definitely going to get, or it's pretty competitive?
It's very competitive, and I'd say it's, we have a shot at it, but it's not guaranteed by any means. If the idea, is something worth pursuing, there are probably other avenues to beyond this one, but this is the first one that's in front of us. So, if it's an idea that the town thinks is important, then I would say it's the end of the process if we don't get this funding.
Thank you, and thank you for the work on this.
Yeah.
Todd, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving the presentation. Can you give us an insight also on the process that's involved with kind of preparing the grant, and who will be kind of involved with basically putting together the ideas for the grant? I mean, I'm kind of trying to understand what we're planning on doing out there, what the grant maybe will entail, what we're going to be basically signing up for, as far as we're taking an island that helps protect the town, and then using different types of resources and human interaction there to try to keep the island in place. So what would that look like? What do you think? And who's going to be part of that process to make that happen?
The grant application actually has to go in later this week, so it's pretty well put together. What we're asking from the town is really in-kind help from the staff to participate in the meetings. There'd probably be monthly meetings of all the partners, to direct the consultants, mainly, which would be Tetra Tech and a professor at NC State that has been working on modeling. And I view it, there are really two parts. One is, what are the interventions that are feasible and that are compatible with the environmental conditions we want to maintain, as well as that provide protection to the town. And that would be sand placement. It could be living shoreline work. But part of the first part of the project would be to identify those measures that everybody agrees are going to be needed in the future, and then but then there's switch and really start thinking about the institutional framework. You have the Corps of Engineers out there dredging, you've got the reserve that has plans, the town has dredging needs and navigation needs. All the major stakeholders and actors, how can they work together and really not be reactive, but proactive in terms of really trying to direct, how things happen in the future and not have a crisis you have to deal with or just, quickly having to make decisions that you haven't had the opportunity to thoroughly think through, how they should be made. So.
And I'm new to these types of grants. What type of staff requirement for time is involved with something like this? I'm very protective of staff because staff's really overworked and has a lot going on. And obviously, this seems to be a worthwhile grant. But I'm just curious what type of time involved there is.
I don't think it would be overly time consuming, but it's going to take some time by the town because you want to stay informed about the process. I think the staff role is to really monitor the work, have input into the work, and to keep communicating with you about the direction, so there's no surprises in terms of where it's going, and that if you have meetings have input that you want to have considered, make sure that that gets into the process. The technical work, the daily legwork would be through the consultants, the Coastal Federation, the Reserve, and they'll be queuing things up, but we do need participation in terms of really paying attention, reviewing, and offering insights as to what will work and what's not going to work. So,
okay, thank you.
And Matt, if this were approved, do you have any concerns about staff time and dedication to this?
No, ma'am, I think this is a worthwhile project. I think we would make the commitment to help assist Coastal Fed, and we can't thank you enough for your help already.
Okay, very good. Yes. Did you have a comment?
No, I was just wanted to ask Matt, and you didn't ask him, so
Two
that's
pointing
it.
at each other. Okay, stop pointing at each other. Yes, being able to be a resilient coastal community is going to require just more than one way to approach it. And having a good plan in place is very important. I know we speak about that quite a bit. The Coastal Federation has helped this town move that needle forward. And I think it would be prudent for us to continue with that partnership. You've done a lot for us. And for those who may not know that, they've helped with our watershed restoration. They've helped us with permeable paving by putting $75,000 in our pocket to help improve that, which added to making our waterways a cleaner waterway. And that's one of the things that we're trying to achieve, is to be a clean water community. And I can go on and on and on about our partnership. And once again, being able to support you in this endeavor is extremely important, because I think it's going to be a model that you're going to be able to use and move forward to other communities. I've spoken at an emergent issues forum about water quality. We worry about our community too, but we have to worry about what goes on upstream. So if we could be a model to get this done, hopefully keep our fingers crossed, it could benefit upstream communities, because what goes upstream comes downstream, and we want to be able to have that be clean. So it's a very important project, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Unless there's any further comments or question, what is the pleasure of the board? Is to already put a letter of support in there, ready to ink it? Just need your blessing.
I make a motion that we approve the letter of support for the Climate Smart Communities Initiative. I guess that is being submitted by the Coastal Federation.
yeah.
Okay. Got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Okay, now can I get a motion to bring back Commissioner Gillikin into the meeting?
So move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, come on back.
Well, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Todd, appreciate it. And we'll get that letter over to you shortly. Okay, now we're going to move on to case number 2604. That's the final plat of Bow Coast Phase 4. Kyle, you are hot tonight. Well, topic-wise.
Mayor's got me speechless after a long time. So thank you, Mayor, for that introduction. This is a final plat request for Bow Coast Phase 4. And the request is to subdivide a 23-acre tract into 36 single-family lots. The zoning is planned unit development. It is currently undeveloped. It is located within our corporate limits, and it does match the Beaufort East Village preliminary plat that was approved in August of 2022. It is served by town infrastructure, and the developer is requesting a bond for any incomplete infrastructure in the amount of $461,411.11. We have two maps up on the screen that we'd like to show. The first is the vicinity map identifies where this phase is in the overall plan, showing as Bow Coast Phase 4. And then we wanted to provide everyone with an overall plan document showing where this fits in with the overall proposed lot layout, which we have circled and identifies colored in blue as Phase 4. Then, of course, we have each one of the smaller sections that go on along with that. With us this evening is their engineer, Mr. Joe Boyd, with Withers and Ravenel, if there are any technical questions. But right now, and just for the edification of folks, the final plat gives the property owner the opportunity to record the plat and then have it for the sale of lots.
Okay.
So, but Mayor, I'll be glad to entertain questions of the board.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Any questions for Kyle on this topic?
Could you go back to the lots? No, that one, okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, Kyle. I just wanted to check that, so this is the final plat, and is it consistent with the preliminary plat?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I'll also point out that some of the infrastructure has already been installed.
Okay. Any further questions on this topic?
Are there any comments from the planning board regarding this?
No, sir, it was unanimous on the recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we've got our questions asked and answered. There's a recommendation to approve the final plat for Bow Coast Phase 4, or you can deny the request. What is the pleasure of the board?
I make the motion to approve the final plat for Bow Coast Phase 4.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Don't go anywhere, Kyle.
Yes,
Case
ma'am.
number 2605, final plat, the Bow Coast West, Phases 2 and 3.
Yes, ma'am, this is the second part. As the mayor mentioned earlier, this is case 26-05, and this is for Bow Coast West Phases 2 and 3. This is a 43.483 acre tract that would be proposed to be divided into 225 total lots. It is also part of the PUD. It is also undeveloped, also within our corporate limits. The difference is that this preliminary plan was approved by the planning board in September of 2022. It is served by our town infrastructure. This bond amount is a little bit larger. It is $3,804,380.56. I keep asking their engineer, why do they not just round it up to the
Because there are no pennies, so you have to round up.
Anyway, but that is their requested dollar amount for the incomplete infrastructure. So we have a vicinity map showing the remaining area for Bow Coast West Phase 2 and 3. And then again, we also wanted to have the circle identifying where it would be as part of the overall development for Bow Coast West. Bow Coast West Phase 1 is just about at full build-out. And here are the sections for 2 and 3. So, and staff will be glad to entertain questions. And again, Mr. Boyd, the engineer, is also here, ma'am.
All right. Any questions for staff or Mr. Boyd, the engineer? on this topic?
I
On
just
two.
have, oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead.
On 2 and 3, on 2, is this the one that came to us a while back that's coming off from the neighborhood and there was a problem with the street, the traffic? And I wish I knew the name of the street right offhand.
Well, let's see. Would it be off of Fairview? Is that, or George Street? Or
Maybe George Street.
Oh, George.
So,
that one.
yes, sir, in regards to their construction traffic and so forth, or traffic in general?
Traffic in general, because it's not that, would that be an open street? To allow for people to enter and exit?
It is an open street, and thank you for pointing that out. There are multiple points of ingress and egress that serve this neighborhood, so the property is, or the traffic is hopefully equally dispersed and so forth. That's what we've seen. So that's been a positive. But yes, people from George Street do have people that use that, and it is connected into Bow Coast West Phase 1. Yes, sir, that is also the phase that I believe that the board requested that a fence go in along the back line as well.
line.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Spiegler?
Thanks, Kyle. Just the same question. This is the final plat, and is it consistent with the preliminary plat?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I just want to make a short comment that I watched the entire planning board meeting, and any questions I might have had were answered there, so I feel confident about adopting the recommendation.
Any further question for Kyle or Mr. Boyd? All right, seeing that there is none, the decision is whether to approve 2605 final plat, Bow Coast West Phase 2 and 3, or to deny. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 26-05, final plat for Bow Coast West Phase 2 and 3.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Very good.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, now you can cool off, Kyle. Okay, we're going to move on to number 4. That's the award of construction contract. That's the source capture exhaust removal system. And we've got Mr. Jack Fleeman with our fire department.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. What I got for you tonight is we're looking for the award of a construction contract for a source capture exhaust removal system for both Fire Station 1 and 2. A little background on this: in September of 2025, the department was granted a Department of Homeland Security Assistance to Firefighters grant for the installation of such systems. The award was for $140,952 with a match of $7,048 for the total project cost of $148,000. The match would be divided between the town and county, Station 1 being the town's responsibility, Station 2 being the county's responsibility. The town, $4,381, and the county for $2,667. Request for quotes was written and sent out for the project. We received 3 quotes on the 26th of February from Air Cleaning Specialists, Magna Grip, and Inventec. Review was conducted on the 3 quotes and a bid tabulation completed. The fire department staff recommends awarding the construction contract to Air Cleaning Specialists, and the action we're seeking for tonight is for you to grant the award to them. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Very well done. Do we have any questions for Acting Chief Fleeman? No? All right. You did so well, they have no questions.
Thank you.
That's what you want, right?
That's right.
All right. There's no further questions. There is a requested action here to consider awarding the construction contract to Air Cleaning Specialist. And what is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we move forward with awarding the construction contract to Air Cleaning Specialists.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. All right, thank you, Mr. Fleetman.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to the announcement regarding Sunland Builders. Mr. Grady.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening again. I believe the agenda narrative, as with some of the other items, is fairly self-explanatory, but I did want to update the board and the general public on the status of our contractual dispute with Sunland. As the board is aware, last year the town retained the law firm of Parker, Poe, Adams, and Bernstein out of Raleigh and Charlotte to serve as construction litigation attorneys on this matter. Last week, specifically on March 3rd, one of those attorneys, Ethan Johnson, transmitted to Sunland Builders what I will generally call a notice of default, to put Sunland on notice of its numerous and extensive defaults in the performance of both contract number 2 and contract number 3 under the USDA project. As part of that correspondence, we made formal claims against Sunland for our damages. We also noticed Sunland that we are withholding all future payments that may otherwise be due Sunland for work performed, and we also noticed Sunland that we intend to cover liquidated damages for untimely completion of both projects. This is a typical lawyerly type of notice letter, but it's part of what we have to do under the contract after we declare default and we begin the process of chasing Sunland for our damages. I will note that the agenda narrative says a copy of the notice has been sent to the performance bond company for both contracts. That was our anticipation when this went out. That has actually not happened yet, but we expect it to happen this week. I will be glad to answer any questions that the board may have, but again, this is primarily to update the general public on the status of the Sunland contractual matters.
Thanks for that sunshiny news. Any questions? Although there's no current action that's being requested at this point in time, this is more informational. I guess we'll be getting more follow-up updates about this particular topic.
Yes, ma'am, and that's a very good comment. The way the contract is structured, and it's very typical for construction contracts, now that Sunland has our notice, they're supposed to respond to our claim. They have the right to deny it, which means that we can take it to the next stage of, I'll call it litigation, but it would actually be arbitration. Of course, this board would need to authorize those types of steps in advance, but we'll keep you guys updated. As of Friday afternoon, we had not received any response from Sunland. I will note that Sunland is affirmatively required under both contracts to keep working, notwithstanding this notice. And I'm not sure if they were out there today or Friday, but I did see emails noting that they were out there working later in the week, last week, after this notice went out. So that remains to be seen if Sunland abides by that contractual obligation.
Okay. All righty. More to come.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Since there's no further comments, we're just going to move on to the next topic. Thank you very much. Now we've got the proposed improvement to the commercial dock area. Mr. Zapp.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I believe Lori Meehan is present with us today to assist if we have any other technical questions. Our staff has met with the F3 Marina team, and the F3 team identified that there were issues inside of the commercial slip area that should be addressed sooner than later. Town staff has worked together, both engineering, public works, along with F3, and we're working through the planning department to make sure we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. There is a recommendation to use actual cash on hand. These are revenues that have been generated since January 1st through F3 Marina. to make improvements into this said commercial dock area, which would establish a safer onboarding approach for individuals and guests that are accessing each of the commercial slip vessels. I believe I'm speaking accurately, but I'll look to Lori for confirmation that F3 Marina is in need of 10 spaces and potentially has 10 vendors ready to go for rentals of these slips. Is that an accurate statement we're getting close to?
We have 7 that are already paying, 3 that are waiting to see how we configure the space.
All right, for the public that wasn't able to hear that, there are 7 committed vendors, 3 on standby awaiting this decision and these improvements. The improvements would include new pilings, 10 inches in caliber. We have communicated with our engineering staff. These would be a floating system as opposed to a current fixed dock access area. You see that right now in the red, we have indicated in the red hashed area what is currently existing, and then you'll see what is proposed. So there'd be removal and reinstallation. And I want to thank Mark Eakes for helping secure multiple quotes. I believe the lowest and best, if you can go back to the approval areas, the current lowest and best bidder is $68,500. That would be C3 Scott Marine Contracting. If approved tonight, we would engage that contractor tomorrow, getting them on schedule. There is a lead time that would allow for the materials, the aluminum ramping, to be ordered and that material to be constructed. We believe that the time frame for construction would be latter April, 3rd or 4th week, and that the time period for construction would be approximately 2 weeks. During that time period of construction, F3 Marina is going to work to make sure that our current vendors, whether it's 7 up till 10, will have access to operate because we know we're getting into good weather. I think I've captured all the generalized details. There's quite a bit happening here. Again, this isn't a request of the town to pay for anything today or to provide any additional fund balance. That F3 as current cash on hand is revenue positive in its first plus or minus 90 days of operation. It's coming into the March period, so it's 30 days in January, 30 days in February, and then coming into this month, we anticipate additional revenue collection. So when the project would be completed, which would be at or around the beginning of May and build subsequently thereafter, F3 Marina would be paying this contractor direct. I'll answer any easy questions. We'll ask Laura to answer the tough ones. If they get really hard, we're going to you, Mark Eakes.
I'd like to ask Mark a question.
That's because you're way in the back. He's going to make you come up front. Oh, is that serious?
Are you gonna answer from there?
Well, I think he's serious. He wants you to come up front and answer
Yeah.
a question. Okay, there you go. All right. Get them moving.
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming that these 3 contractors here are longstanding, have good standing in terms of doing this type of work?
Yes, sir. From my understanding and what I know of them, they are. We received 2 more quotes as well, but they were quite significantly higher. But
And Scott Marina, where are they located?
I think
Are they
they're down
local?
in the Swansboro area.
Swansboro?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I'm just a little gun shy. That's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Righteously. Commissioner Matthews, you're next. Go.
Sorry?
Said you had a question.
Oh, yes, I do. And I spoke to Matt about this as well, but my understanding was that there was dredging that was needed in this particular area. And Laura, you may be able to speak to this. The contractors that are interested in leasing in those areas, would there need to be dredging for them?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Right now, the vessels that we have coming in are flat bottom boats. They're not going to need dredging at this time, and the floating dock access will actually allow them to stage back a little further than what they were having to do before, which will also alleviate that need that is immediate, but certainly long-term and ongoing dredging is going to be needed for this area. That's a collection point. When things are coming from, an incoming tide, that's where they end up in that area.
Thank you.
Well, Lori, I just wanted to bring this up. Just wanted to kind of shed light on. So if I was just a townsperson that was following along, and, you know, had been following along the budget and so forth for the docks. We had a budget set up beforehand and kind of identified things that needed to be repaired and kind of had a tight budget. How did this all come about? We have Beowulf, we have F3, we have the town. How did this all come about that all of a sudden we've determined that we need to do this $68,000 repair?
It was just the being on site and actually being out on those finger piers. So at least prior to my arrival here in person, we were not permitted to be on the docks. We could walk along the exterior, but as they were being leased, we had not been given permission to be on them. Once we were on them and walking them, it was clear that those finger piers, the way that they were constructed, was not done by a commercial entity, I don't believe. I believe those are homemade finger piers and not something that we could guarantee would maintain any kind of load. And the folks that are getting on and off of those vessels, you know, that's in our care at that point. When they're on the vessel and moving, they then become under the care of that particular commercial entity. But as they're boarding that vessel, that's our responsibility to ensure that it's safe. And what I saw there was not what I would deem to be safe.
Thank you for that. And as this is a dock enterprise fund and needs to cover itself, the money that would be allocated for this is money that's been collected.
Correct.
Is that money collected for contracts in the future? Like, is that for docking or reservations in, say, June, July, August?
So those are reservations for June for Big Rock.
Okay.
And those are non-refundable.
Non-refundable, okay.
Yes.
Good, all right.
Only for
That's
Big
two.
Rock.
Yeah, that
So
was my,
for that 10-day
that was my
period-
other question, was
Yes.
whether or not these were refundable
No.
or not.
No, so typically when you have a transient reservation, that is refundable if weather were to occur or there to be an issue with their vessel. But for the 10-day period of Big Rock to secure that space, they had to agree to pay up front in full, and it's not refundable. So that is cash that's in the bank now.
Okay. So based on that budget, is there any amendment that has to be made to that budget to then take that money so that it moves into the repair
We had
section?
CapEx money that was set aside to do other projects, and we've
Okay.
just moved this one in front of those. And we will look to do those others because those were want tos, not have tos.
Okay.
The bathhouse, for example, is functioning. There's nothing that's not safe about that bathhouse, but it's definitely something that we want to update. And we're going to wait on that until we have additional funds in place to do it.
And are there other repairs that are going to need to be done out there for the fixed docks and so forth? And the funding for that, will that come from the F3 budget or the enterprise fund budget?
So when we began the process, we were anticipating needing about $250,000 of seed money to be invested. We have requested $70,000 to date. We've done the cash analysis moving forward. We don't believe that we will ever be asking for any additional funds from the town unless it goes beyond into CapEx dollars. So we're going to build new docks at some point. We need new electric throughout. Those are going to be things that would not be able to be covered by the cash that's generated,
Right.
but
Just
the daily
specifically
operations.
for the commercial area right now.
Yeah, so what we put in place here for the commercial area should now have this area be compliant and safe moving forward.
Okay.
So there would be additional things we might like to do in terms of kiosks and curb appeal.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of safety, we will have met the safety requirements that we see currently.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's been one of my main concerns out there, was the safety of the docks for the community and for the tourists that visit Town of Beaufort. I'm glad you've identified that. I'm glad we're addressing that. I think that's one of the most important things that we can do out there at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
In terms of the budget, with your question, when we propose our budget for the 26-27 year, we will be looking at the ROI on those funds and how we would recoup that in terms of pricing and also market. So there'll be some proposals that we'll put forward that we would like to recommend, and we'll wait for the town to give us direction on that.
You had me at no refund. Commissioner Cooper?
Yes. Thank you. Even though that money that the Big Rock boats have already supplied to you guys, how are we able to use that money now that basically should not be reported until June financial? So how are we going to be able to use those funds now?
So while you're not going to, it's deferred revenue. So while you won't see it on your financial statement until June, using the cash balance that's in the bank, we do have the funds that we can appropriate. So there's over $200,000 in the bank now. All of our bills are paid, and we're only going to be collecting more.
But you know, it's a small town, so you know, I'm aware that we're having some pump outs or pumps thing. They're running about $125,000 a piece.
Are you referring to our fuel carts?
Fuel carts, yes.
Yes. So for our fuel carts, those were about $20,000 a piece. We were looking at anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 to replace everything that was there. Rather than make that purchase, the fuel company has agreed to front the money for those carts, and they are going to tack on 50 cents a gallon to every gallon that they sell to us until that debt is paid. We anticipate with the first 4 carts that we've ordered that will be paid by the end of June.
Okay, thank you.
And there's no interest on that.
No interest?
No interest.
You're doing great. I'm gonna give you my household
I'm
budget.
a pretty shrewd negotiator.
Any further questions for Shrewd Meehan? Okay, hold on. I've got Dexter next.
First of all, thank you for what y'all have been doing there. You started to head down the trail of the question, maybe a comment or a question that I was going to say, and that's the return on investment for this. I mean, this will open up some of the slips that are currently not rented in that area commercially as well. Therefore, there should be definitely a return on investment going forward.
Correct. So what I wanted to see was how long would it take for us to recoup those funds?
Right.
And so that's what I've asked I can do the math, but I've just asked our accounting department to do the ROI for you and present that as part of the financials for February when those come on the 15th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Gilligan.
So Lori, I've asked you this before, but I want the public to hear.
Okay.
I am concerned about the commercial operators and the impacts to their businesses, but also realize the safety need here. So can you speak to how you will handle the businesses and how we will minimize disruption to?
Sure. So what we're planning to do is to use those catamaran slips, which are the inside of that long dock, what we call D-dock. Those will vacate. The winter customers will be leaving in the next couple of weeks. And so rather than use those as transient spaces, we'll utilize the rest of the marina, and we will reserve those for the commercial customers to move back to. It will keep them all in the same area. It will give everyone a safe way to board and depart the vessels, and it won't be far from their kiosks.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't really have a question. I was just going to make a comment. I think now that we've heard the discussion, we did discuss this item as well at our BWOOF meeting last Thursday, and there was support from the BWOOF as well to bring this up to a safe standard for our commercial operators and their customers. So just wanted to state that as well.
Good to have that feedback. Thank you. Any other questions for Miser Meehan? All righty, Lori, thank you so much for that update. All right, so we've got an action to take on this one is either to approve moving forward with C3 Scott Marina contracting to upgrade and approve the commercial dock area. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
We've got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to manager's report.
Thank you. A couple of items, wanted to go through and just update everyone, both here at the town council as well as our public that are both joining us in person and online, that our parking pass for town residents has gone live and active. We put out a release today in our Beaufort Minute indicating the same. We are encouraging people to visit us at Town Hall at Front Street, stop in our front lobby portico and speak with our representatives from our parking area. They will help you out if you are a Beaufort resident. Again, within the town's confines, you get 1 free pass per household. We also have a Cognito form that's been developed, a fillable form that you can find online, and you can, if you're technically savvy and you prefer to do it that way, please jump online. Again, you'll get 1 pass per household. So we want to encourage those to continue to do that. I believe up to today, at the close of business, we had approximately 33 passes already issued, and so we'd encourage others to continue to do that. I do have a question in order of business. The town has been engaged in a contract with First Tryon since March 30th of 2023. That's a 3-year contract, and it's just a house cleaning measure. Finance Director Christy Wood indicated that we should just send a letter of termination to close out or sunset that contract if the board wishes, and that is a question that we would like to ask the board for consensus and support before we initiate a letter and send it out.
So any reason why? Did you want to talk about that, or just want to go ahead and sunset it?
So at this point, I believe we've utilized First Tryon over the last 3 years, and I'm not sure that if there is a need from the town council to continue to engage First Tryon, we gladly could do so. But I think that internally we have the data that we need to bring forward the fiscal budget for 2027, as well as the process that we're utilizing for rate analysis with our subcommittee group. So it's a cost of $25,000 per year. This current contract was a 3-year contract, and I would make the recommendation that we could sunset it if you see fit.
I'll leave it up to the board to make that discussion. Any concerns down here?
Just concurrence, yes, sir, not to renew with their contract.
Yeah,
We would just send them notice that we're not intending to renew.
I would agree with the town recommendation, or the staff recommendation.
All right, looks like we've got some head shaking. You want that in a formal vote, or are you okay with consensus?
Let's have a formal motion and vote if we could.
All right, appreciate that. Can I get a motion to approve renewing with?
I make a
First
motion
Tryon?
that, on the town manager recommendation, that we terminate the contract.
Is it terminate or
Oh,
not renew?
Contract to sunset.
Is it a contract, or what is it?
It would be to allow the contract to sunset and non-renew with
And
First
not renew.
Tryon effective.
Contract to sunset.
Thank you.
Yeah, not renew. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. Any more report?
I'm captain of good news. Can I continue?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
boy.
I love good news.
No. I am so sorry to report that effective tomorrow, Turner Street will need to be shut down one more time, the 100 block. We have worked hard to communicate that message. We went door to door. We also provided a sunshine-style blast out specific to the purpose and need. So the 100 block of Turner Street will be dug out. I believe it would be upwards of 11 inches of compacted stone replaced on the entirety of the 100 block, coming back with a 2 to 2.5 inches of asphalt overlay, which would provide an edge-to-edge, curb-to-curb completion of this project. We have gone quite deep, 15 to 18 feet. We wanted to make sure that the street was open and accessible and safe for Mardi Gras, which it was. We're thankful that that went off smoothly. We also understand that the Beaufort Wine and Food has another event coming up in April, so we are between major, large, fun events, and we're trying to make sure that we are trying to keep as many people happy and safe as possible. We do know that our merchants on Turner have been nothing but absolutely fantastic, and again, we hate that we even have to close it. We are advertising a period of March 10th through April 10th. That period of up to 30 days, that accounts for a holiday, potential for weather, and then we will still have to come back in phase 2 and 3 of that final project, and we plan to address the intersections at Front and Turner and the intersections at Ann and Turner independently so that we can make that thoroughfare accessible for those business operators and owners and try to make the impact as least negative as possible. I'll pause, I'll come up for air and answer any questions that you have specific to the roadway reconstruction. And if there's anything technical in nature, I would ask that Sam Bell would assist.
Nobody's looking at me, so we're
Okay,
good.
Sam, we're off the hook. So we're glad to report that this project is coming to a next major cycle phase. And that leads us into an opportunity to take a chance to give the public a general overview of where we are with our USDA project and what our plan would be moving forward with asphalt and paving. Our team is working in cooperation with Rivers and Associates to put a very concise but detailed overview of our paving process together that we will share socially and post to our town's main page at beaufortnc.org. The importance of this project is the $31 million of USDA work was all underground. The necessity to come back with asphalt paving and patching and overlay is a $4.6 million project. That project is currently being designed by Rivers and Associates and will be let out for bid in the next 90 to 120 days. Once that project is bid and adequate responses are received, then we would come back to this board with a contract recommendation to move forward with paving. That paving would be anticipated to occur late in 2026, a majority of the paving. There is sections of that paving area that would be pertinent to the extension of Contract 2, which is our water line replacement. For example, there may be a section down on Ann that won't be addressed until the spring of 2027. If there is additional construction work that would have to occur underground, please note that those areas that would extend into 2027 obviously would get patching, but they wouldn't get edge-to-edge asphalt replacement until all the construction work is done. So the major questions are, where are we on Turner Street? We are now going to close Turner effective tomorrow to come back with a complete rehabilitation and a rebuild. Where are we with sections like Broad Street? And so right now, we have been working through all the water, the sewer, and the stormwater work, and it would be anticipated that this section just adjacent to the building in which we sit tonight and report would be paved by the conclusion of 2026. I'll pause there. Are there any questions? Because it's an extremely robust map that will be put together and communication strategy shared, but we're working on that real time, and we'll provide additional details, hopefully in the next week or two, share those socially and online, but we wanted to give a verbal public update.
Any questions or concerns?
So one thing that's on time we're excited about is the fuel tank installation. So thank you to Lori, the team at F3 for all the work and progress we've made in the marina at this point at the town docks. We also want to thank Oaks Grading. David Johnson is our primary project manager on that site, and he has done a fine job so far. He and Robbie have moved forward in getting that tank installed. We're working on final inspections, making sure all the permitting and underground work has been completed, and we're covering back to cover up the actual tanks. Simultaneously, we are engaged with Thomas Simpson Construction to work on what we would phase as the civil work and asphalt portions of that project. And I'm going to ask Mark if there's any changes or deviations from that schedule. Just raise your hand, let me know. But we're still on target for our sidewalk reallocation and movement, which moves the sidewalk due south about 10 feet, provides for a fuel delivery lane parallel to Front Street that will allow the fuel trucks to come into that zone and do gravity feed, direct fill without having to be on front to block traffic. And those pieces and all of the associated asphalt are scheduled to move forward throughout the month of March, weather permitting, and hopefully have us geared up and ready to deliver fuel and sell fuel in slip as early as April 2026, keeping us on target and hopefully under budget. Any questions on any of those four major updates? We're silently working in the shadows and trying to keep everything moving. And so we do appreciate it, and I know all of our departments are busy, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank each and every department head that's in the space, but all 90 of our team members that are making the commitment every day to help move Beaufort forward, as well as our extension of our department at F3 Marina. So if the board has any questions, either for myself or the other colleagues that I have the privilege of working alongside, we'll gladly try to answer them tonight.
Any questions? Seeing that there is none. Well, we're going to move on to mayor and commissioner comments. And we're going to start with Commissioner Lopicolo.
I have no comments tonight, thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cooper.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do.
Oh.
Where's my piece of paper? Well,
I'll come
wing
back.
it. No, I got it. I know what I know what to say, but I wanted to make sure I said it right, and I may have thrown it away. In event, good evening, everyone. Appreciate you being here, and for those that's on Facebook, I just would like for us to remember and keep in your prayers, or however you conduct your business and wanting to keep people safe or say they're safe, of our servicemen who is in this particular war in Iran, that we remember them, and hopefully that they all, as well as the civilians that are over there, that they all return home safely.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Gilligan.
Matt, you just mentioned that staff are working silently in the shadows, and just want to let you know that a lot of people see a light shining on y'all and how wonderfully y'all are doing. These folks are staying way after hours. I saw Elizabeth come out the other night. I was downtown and she's like, I just got off work. I mean, the town staff are doing absolutely everything they can and more to shine and to make things happen. So just know that I really appreciate that, and I hope that citizens will stop staff on the street and tell them how much they are appreciated. So thank you.
Commissioner Spiegler.
I want to say thank you to everybody who participated tonight in person and online. I also want to say a big thank you to F3 and our town staff. We're working hard. They're working hard on the transition down at the docks. And we're just really thankful for our new partner, F3. And thank you for coming to our BWOOF meeting last week. I also want to say thank you to our BWOOF committee. We have moved to a quarterly meeting schedule for our BWOOF team, but it's very good to have their input as we continue forward with this transition. Just feel very fortunate that we're seeing that fuel tank go in on time, on budget, and that's very exciting. And I'm excited to see what happens this summer down at the docks. So thank you again. And one more thing, Commissioner Cooper and I are attending the Main Street Conference in New Bern this week. I think we're the two commissioners, and excited to see what they have to offer at our partner, at our neighbor New Bern, not just right down the road. So we'll report back on what we learn.
Okay. Can't wait to hear an update. Commissioner Matthews.
There's been a great deal of work done on the wastewater treatment, the water and sewer rates, and wastewater treatment plant flow data. And I want to thank Matt and staff for answering all of our questions, presenting us just a tremendous amount of data. It's going to be a interesting process. You know, we had an item tonight on the consent agenda for the residential solid waste fee increase, because most contractors that with the town are going to have a CPI index to be able to increase. So you expect that to come. We don't have a similar situation with our water and sewer rates. So it's been, what now, Matt, seven or 8 years since there's been any sort of increase. We have a tremendous amount of debt now that we're going to have to repay, and obviously costs go up over time. So we're spending a tremendous amount of time, and hopefully we'll be able to come back with a very sound and reasonable proposal on the rates. So thank you for the work that we've seen from staff, Matt.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
You found it?
I found the paper.
Oh, he found his paper. All right, let's see what's on the paper.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. Just the one thing I did forget that I was on here, I don't know how, is I want to thank Mark East and his staff. On the one cold day that we had this week, they were out there cleaning the graveyards, and just wanted to thank him and his staff for doing that. I mean, it was a cold day too, because I went out I went out there just to let them know that we appreciate what they're doing. Thanks, Mark.
All right, we're good?
We're good.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I actually had an opportunity to attend an event, and whenever I go out, I'm always being asked by individuals, you know, Beaufort is always so clean, Beaufort is always so organized, I love it over there. And I'm always giving compliments about the staff, and this is one I would pass on to you. One person was walking down the street last week during the morning, and staff was out over by Graydon Paul and Uri Park. And you guys were just going to work. They just saw the energy that you guys had and the care that you took in your work and the pride that you presented. So I just wanted to let you know that comment, that you are being watched, and they're coming back with favorable reports. So you are seen. So keep up the good work. I keep bragging on you guys. You make us look good. needless to say, but it comes from the heart. And I told them that you guys bring your A game each and every day. Want to thank F3 Marina. We're going to put you on roads, get that straightened out. But I want to thank you for all the great work that you are doing down at the docks, hearing great things, and want you to continue to have great success. We're your biggest cheerleaders. Matt, I want to actually call Matt Zapp out a little bit because he is doing a phenomenal job. When we're talking about come in early, go home late, this man is a pure definition of that. He is motivating our staff to be the best that they can be, but he also leads by example. So I want to thank you for all that you do for the town, and you're doing an excellent job. We are going to be moving into, no, and I did want to mention one more thing. We do have construction going on and road work in Town Beaufort, but I want to also have us be cognizant about the roundabout construction that's going out uptown. If we really need to support our local businesses. You have to cross 3 bridges to get out of Beaufort, and I believe you have just about everything you need right here, so save yourself a trip. So uptown businesses are beginning to feel that impact, as well as downtown businesses. And I hope that maybe at some point in time, the town, I know it's an NCDOT project, may do a Beaufort Minute to encourage people to be as patient as possible, go around the detours, but make sure that those businesses get the love that many of our downtown businesses have received during their construction time frame. I want to also thank Tommy Simpson for opening up his shopping center when it's possible, so that is able to detour traffic around. That has been a big help. So as a business owner who's off the beaten path, I want to say that has allowed for people to come and see our business. We don't want to close our doors. We're mom and pops, a lot of us, we do not have corporate money funding us. So if you're able to get out there and support local, this is the time to do it. And I want to thank all those who have actually made the trip to do so. So with that being said, I would like to ask for us to go into closed session, a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A and 3.
So move.
Got a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Be back in 5, please.
I hear you popping your knuckles.
Some of those books belong to me.
I heard that. I was like,
Well,